So, what is it that makes us click with one person and not another? Today, we're going to try and unlock a little piece of the human heart. We're diving into some really fascinating, though definitely unscientific, observations on attraction from our source, Rituki Diary. Let's see what it has to say.
It's that age-old question, right? What are those unwritten rules that turn a first glance into something deeper, a real connection? Well, our source has some pretty unique ideas about these very questions. All right, so let's start right at the beginning. The rules of attraction. According to our source, that initial spark you feel, it's not just some random thing. There are apparently a few specific things that people notice right off the bat.
Okay, so this is pretty interesting. You know that old saying, birds of a feather flock together? Well, our source basically says, forget that. It suggests that people with different ways of thinking are actually more likely to form a really strong bond. The idea is that if you're both exactly the same, you might just struggle to make it work. And it gets even more specific, especially about what women might be looking for. First up, it claims that men with beards kind of give off this vibe of being more mature and responsible. And on the flip side, showing off how strong you are, apparently that's not all that impressive. So it seems like it's all about projecting maturity, not just brute force. And check this out. The source even has a color code for attraction. For guys trying to impress a girl, the advice is to wear blue because it's seen as a confident color. And for women, the tip is to wear red, which is just described as a color of attraction. So there you have it, two very specific pieces of advice for making that first impression really count. Okay, so making a good first impression is one thing, but what's next? How do you actually build on that? Our next section gets into how to grow that initial spark into a much deeper, stronger bond. Now, this is a really powerful idea. The source says that when a person cries, it shouldn't be looked at as a weakness. Not at all. Instead, it's presented as a sign that they have a pure heart. So it totally reframes vulnerability, right? It's not a flaw. It's like a little window into how deep and real a person is. In a world where we're all texting and sending DMs, the source pushes for a more old-school approach to sharing how you feel. It says you should never confess your love over the phone. Instead, the process is simple. You got to do it in person. Step 1, put that phone away. Step 2, make direct eye contact. That's what really makes it hit home. And for a little bonus connection, hold their hand. Now, this next point gets into a pretty sensitive topic. The source claims that a physical relationship can be a huge turning point. I'm just going to read this idea directly from the source. It suggests that after a physical connection, someone who truly loves you won't pull away. In fact, they'll connect with you in an even stronger way. So it's kind of presented as the ultimate test of how someone really feels. All right, for our last section, we're going to shift gears a bit and look inward. We've talked about attracting people and building bonds, but our source also has some thoughts on how we navigate our own emotions. How do we process our feelings, especially when things get tough? So our source points out this thing it calls the sadness focus. It's described as a kind of emotional coping mechanism. Basically, the idea is that when you're feeling really, really down or lonely, you'll naturally think about someone you love deeply, maybe even pull up a picture of them. And why do we do this? Well, the source says it's to find a bit of motivation and courage from that person to help you get through it. So from the power of wearing the color blue to the idea that opposites are the way to go, we've covered some very specific takes on the human heart. They're not exactly scientific, but they do offer a really unique way to think about connection. And that brings us to a final question for you. Our feelings are super complex, for sure. But which of these truths, if any, really rings true with your own experience?